My first point for you today is this. My 3 P's, and my first P is this: perspective. What is your perspective in regards to your role as an educator? Let me just backtrack and go back to where I was growing up in the 80s. Now, I'm sure I have some people that can resonate with me on some of the things I'm about to say in regards to the 80s. Some of you, this may be your first year teaching. Some of you, it may be your 31st year teaching. But wherever you are, the beginning or the middle, or anywhere in between, I'm sure you can relate to some of the things I'm going to say throughout this talk. Now, in the 80s, we experienced a lot of changes. Right now, we have this fixed mindset and this growth mindset. When I was growing up, I didn't know what a fixed mindset was or a growth mindset. But we have something called a growth mindset when you're open to change. Now, in the 80s, we had something called Atari. Anybody remember Atari? Yeah, y'all remember Atari? Okay, so I got some people that can relate to me. All right, in the 80s, we had, now I'm gonna see who really remembers this. We had a group called Run DMC. Y'all remember Run DMC? Yeah, see, that's the era I was raised in, right? We had something called the golden age of hip hop. We had people break dancing. Remember people break dancing? You had that. We had people roller skating. We had so many changes, especially for my grandmother. Think about this. My mother got pregnant with me at the age of 19. Now, my grandmother has 2 children. She has my mother and my uncle who are a year apart. So my mother got pregnant with me at 19, gave birth to me at 20. My grandmother was just 2 years removed from raising both of her kids when she recognized my daughter's about to give birth to my grandchild. Now, this was 1980. 1980. In 1980, we had the war on drugs. In the 1980s, we had the crack epidemic. In the 1980s, we had white flight. We had people from the inner city moving out to the suburbs. In the 1980s, we had a Macintosh computer that came into existence, right? In the 1980s, we were still using payphones, right? These are some of the things but my grandmother was living through all of these changes. But no matter what was taking place in society, no matter what was taking place within the school system, she did not change her standards and expectations. Goals change. Standards and expectations do not change. She did not change her standards and expectations. And she was going through so much. That's why I have a tremendous amount of respect for you guys because of what you go through. My grandmother was going through a divorce. My biological grandfather was physically and verbally abusive to my grandmother. But that didn't change. It didn't change her perspective. It didn't change the way that she viewed her role and responsibility and obligation, not only as my grandmother, but as an educator. She was known in the community as Miss Ty. And every time I would go around riding my bicycle or my skateboard or just playing within the community, people would say, that's Miss Ty's grandson. Miss Ty don't play. Miss Ty's gonna make sure you get an education. Because Miss Ty understood her perspective was for her to be in the school. She had a set of responsibilities and she wanted to make sure that the students maximize their potential. I asked you the question, how do you view what you do for a reason? Because I firmly believe how you view what you do will affect how you do your job. How you view what you do will always impact how you do what you do.